Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. In this one I'm going to be talking about how I resin my work. Instead of doing a step-by-step tutorial, I thought it would be much better if I answer your questions about it. So in this video I've selected key questions that I think are worth answering on here. I'll leave all the stuff I talk about in the description below so you can easily click on it when you're trying to art resin yourself. The first question is, what resin do I use? I use ArtResin to resin my paintings. Is ArtResin expensive? I think compared to varnishes, it's much more expensive. I always buy a bigger size, I think it's nearly 2 litres, and that I guess saves money in the long run, but it is over £100. I think you can get like starter kits that are like around £30. So where do you get ArtResin? I got my ArtResin from Cas Art, which is a UK art shop. I know that ArtResin sell on Amazon, and it also depends on where you are in the world because I don't think they ship worldwide, or they don't supply it worldwide, so you're going to have to check beforehand. Why use ArtResin? So for me, I know that ArtResin adds value to your artwork, so it makes it a little bit more expensive, but it also makes it more professional, which is always a good thing. It protects your work, and it also makes the colours more vibrant. It's really cool once you see it. It's hard to see on the video, but it's much more cleaner and vivid in person. Will it yellow over time? From what I've read, it doesn't yellow over time. ArtResin has a certain ingredient that stabilizes UV rays, which helps with yellowing. ArtResin has a shelf life, which is 6 months when it's opened and a year if it's not opened. So that means after the 6 months, and from what my experience is that after the 6 months, the resin actually turns yellow, which means it's pretty much not going to be as clear as it was at the start. So that's when you gotta make sure really that you use it all before the 6 months is complete. Why do you pour so much? So I know it looks like I'm pouring a lot onto my paintings, but it's actually the right amount, and I know it's the right amount because ArtResin actually have a ArtResin Calculator on their website, and it's really useful. All you have to do is put in the size of the canvas you're working on in inches or centimeters or whatever it is, and it calculates the exact amount of resin you need to pour over. Do you mix anything with the resin? Yes, it comes with a hardener. When you mix together, it activates the resin so that it dries basically. It's always 50-50 of each hardener and resin. How do you prevent dust and bubbles? Always cover your resin work with a cardboard box. This allows the resin to not be disturbed over the 24 hours it is curing. When you first pour over the resin, the best thing to use to pop the bubbles is a blowtorch. From about 10 centimeters away, use the blowtorch to glide over the surface of the resin, and you'll see that the bubbles pop really nicely, and it makes a difference straight away to your resin. Cover the work again, and in 20 minutes go back to it, and like you're seeing on screen now, I do the same process, and I also use a chopstick which allows me to manually take out any dust particles that are actually wedged into the resin that the blowtorch couldn't get. It's very useful that the room you're working in is well lit so that you can see the ArtResin imperfections that pop up along the 40 minutes that you have, or 45 minutes that you have working with the resin before it starts to cure. Now this takes a couple of tries to really get used to, so don't worry if you don't get it right the first time. You kind of trial and error it so that you know what works for you. yeah, it did take me a while to get this part right, and it's crucial to make your art resin clean and dust free in the end. What do you do to the sides? So with all my canvases that I work on, especially the wood panels, I always use blue painter's tape that I line across the edges and the bottom, and you've got to make sure you do the bottom, because if you do get a few drips running down the side, they will accumulate at the very bottom, and if you do get that on the wood, which I have done in the past, it's a pain to get off, so make sure you do all the sides and the bottom. Now that's all the questions I'm going to be answering in this video. If you have any questions, let me know below. I'm going to leave all the links you need in the description below to get you started with ArtResin. But other than that, hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.